going to record the webinar as well. So anybody that hasn't sort of joined or joined half the way through, or if any of you guys want to re-listen to the webinar and sort of share it with your friends and that'd be perfect. Okay, Kilimanjaro 2015. We've organised a trip to scale Kilimanjaro, as you can see there, from the 1st until the 11th of February 2015. And I just want to get this working. Bear with me a minute. Just want to share with you just a couple of things before we start, just what we're going to be covering in the next 30 or so minutes, and after which you can ask me any questions. So I just want to just go through just one or two sort of housekeeping things, and away we go. So first off, just do a brief introduction about myself, about Mountains in Mind, what we do, and a little bit of history about myself. We'll sort of just cover briefly about sort of the history of Kilimanjaro, where it is in the world, and just sort of how it was discovered. We'll go into the actual trip itself, and we'll cover the route to the top, the company that we'll be working with in Tanzania, and just other sort of information around that. A lot of questions that we have had over the last sort of 2 or 3 months since we've been promoting this trip is around about sort of fitness and the training, and I've sort of put a few slides together to help answer any of your questions that you may have. And obviously, because it's such a big trip, we're going to need quite a bit of equipment. So I'm just going to put I've put a few slides and a bit of information together this evening, just to give you an idea, an indication of what you'll need. On my website, or on the website I should say, there's a full list of equipment that you'll need as well. And we're just going to then cover dates and costs and how you can either fund the trip yourself, or you can fund it through one of our charity partners. Or if you have a preferred charity, we can sometimes work with charities that we're not associated with. And we can cover that in a little bit more detail a bit later. And then in about 30 minutes time, I'm going to throw the webinar open to you guys, so then you can ask me any questions you want to. So without further ado, I'll move on. So a little bit about myself, a little bit about Mountains in Mind. A short while ago I escaped the corporate life rat race to follow sort of a career of my dreams, as it was really. I've been sort of an avid lover of the outdoors for over 30 years now, and I took the plunge a couple of 3 years ago to get qualified and condense all that experience and become a mountain and expedition leader. I've moved on then now to work with other event companies to offer support to their events and challenges and also their adventures. We do offer a sort of level of coaching, and that sort of helps people sort of overcome some fears that they may have, sort of venturing and getting into adventures in the outdoors. We do work quite heavily with the Duke of Edinburgh award scheme, and it's a great sort of award scheme to sort of give opportunities and to give experiences to the young sort of people amongst us really. So I've just literally finished today a 3-day training course here in the Peak District with a school from Ealing, and that's been great. We've had gorgeous weather, and we've come away with suntan, so that's brilliant. And me personally, I like to push myself a little bit. I've done over sort of 50 races now in the last sort of 3.5 years, and my longest one to date is 75 miles. That's in one go, and it's an adventure ultra, we class that. And I've travelled and done expeditions in Nepal, the Himalaya and the Alps. And 8 months ago I joined the Buxton Mountain Rescue, which is a mountain rescue team based in the Peak District. So enough about myself. So Kilimanjaro the mountain. It's obviously been around for hundreds of thousands of years, but it was first discovered by a German missionary. So in theory, sort of the first time the Western world witnessed or sort of discovered Kilimanjaro was way back in 1848. Well, Kilimanjaro itself is based on the Tanzanian-Kenyan border in East Africa, and it's at the bottom of a geological feature called the Rift Valley, which stretches tens of thousands of miles on the east side of Africa, and that is being caused by the tectonic plates literally pulling the side of Africa apart. And they, sort of geologists estimate in sort of the next 10, 20,000 years, that will actually be an island on itself, and the Great Rift Valley will actually be a new sea. So at the moment, obviously, with all that activity going on, there's volcanoes and a lot of sort of seismic activity in that area. And at the bottom of that Rift Valley, like I say, is Kilimanjaro. And that, as you can see, sort of bottom left on photo there, is what is called a stratovolcano. And it's dormant, it's not extinct, but it's not erupted for hundreds of years. And the magma itself, the lava, is only 400 meters below. And it's said, we have not witnessed this, but it's said at certain parts of the crater rim, you can feel the warmth of the magma in the chambers below. And the mountain itself is quite unique. On the mountain, it has 4 climatic zones, but during the expedition, we'll actually travel through 4. And it's bushland, which is and up to the Arctic, and the Arctic is obviously making snow and glaciers on the summer, and the mountain itself, certainly during the winter months, and get down to very extreme temperatures on there that we have. And that's just a little overview of Kilimanjaro. There's a lot of books out there that you can sort of do a lot more research on the mountain, etc. And what we supply as well when people sort of book with us, we'll supply sort of a guidebook just to give you a bit of idea and a bit of understanding, and just to go into sort of details and a bit more. So just some photos there of the climatic zones. Going from the left, that's sort of the bushland, that's sort of savanna of Africa. It's going through the rainforest, and the rainforest typically rains, bizarrely enough, at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So what happens there, obviously all the humidity is sort of built off the sort of savanna and the bushland, and sort of congregates in a sort of typical rainforest, and around about 1, 2 o'clock it'll rain. And it'll rain for about an hour and a half, and then it'll stop. And then the sun comes out and it all gets dried up again. And then, you sort of over the coming days, we move up to the bottom photo there, that's sort of through heathland, and then you're sort of moving all the way around then up to the glaciers on the top of the summit. So the brainiest and the clever ones amongst us have estimated that the glaciers will actually disappear in the next 20 to 30 years. They're retreating at such a rate that they've anticipated that the next 20 to 30 years, within our lifetime, that there will be no more glaciers on the top of Kilimanjaro. And that's pretty much true for most of the glaciers around the world. We've obviously seen that in the press lately, sort of Greenland, the Iceland ice caps, and we travel quite a lot to the Alps and certainly the Chamonix Valley, obviously the home of Mont Blanc. And there's a glacier there called the Argentière Glacier, and that's retreating at 3 or 4 centimeters per day, and you can actually see the actual valley, and the vegetation hasn't grown in there yet, and where the glaciers retreated. So it's it's a real threat to the glaciers around the world. So our route, well, our route is going to follow it's quite a popular route called the Manchami route, and there are a number of reasons why that's popular. The main reason that it is popular, and one of the reasons that we have chosen this, it's amongst the best success rate, and it factors in acclimatization. Because obviously acclimatization is a real problem, or not problem, it's a real presence on the mountain. I'm going to cover that in a little bit later on the fitness side. So obviously we're 6,000, just short of 6,000 meters high, and that's just a little bit higher than Everest Base Camp. And the normal trek to Everest Base Camp takes between 2 to 3 weeks. What we're doing here is we're doing it within 7 days. The actual trip itself lasts for 11 days. We're on the mountain for 7 days, and that's typical. That's a typical expedition on Kilimanjaro. So we're taking as long as we possibly can with the camps that we've got available to get to the top. And the success rate on this particular route is about 82%, so it's quite high. And that's one of the reasons why we've chosen this. There are around about 6 to 7 different routes coming in from the different areas of the mountain, from the north, from the south, from the east, from the west. And the one that's gaining more popularity now is the Rongay route. And that's because it's a little bit quieter, but the challenge that we have with that route, and there's about a 67% success rate, is the summit night is the longest one on the mountain. And you're actually on the crater rim there where you can see the Ura Peak. We're on the summit there for about 4 to 5 hours if you follow the Rongay route. The Manchami route, we're on the summit for about an hour and a half on the crater rim side to get to the summit of that. So, you know, we're at altitude for less time, and it has a massively better success rate. So other features on this particular route, on the Manchami route, we're going to go something past another geological feature called the Lava Tower, and you can, if you wish, have the possibility to climb that. We certainly did the first time we went, and it's, you know, it's a great photograph opportunity from the top there, and pretty much it is what it says on it. It's a tower of, obviously, you know, lava that came down off the mountain when it was very active. We do see wilderness. We can certainly hear wilderness, certainly through the rainforest, and typical sort of, you know, sort of wildlife that we'll see through there. We'll hear a lot of different birds from time to time, depending on how quiet we can be. We do get to see monkeys swinging around in the trees, so it's quite good. Questions that we have been asked is, do we see any tigers or anything else? No, we don't. Nothing life-threatening that we'll come across, so you're pretty safe there. And yeah, we've already sort of covered the actual climatic zones sort of on there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm actually going to break down sort of the individual days that we'll cover on the mountain. So we're going to take 11 days. The whole trip is 11 days, and it's a very popular trip, Kilimanjaro, as you can imagine, and it does it quite busy. And certainly the busiest months on the mountain are sort of August, September, July time. And the quite simple fact is it's the Northern Hemisphere holidays. Obviously it's the summer, and it's so busy on those months that you're not really going to get a good sort of sense of achievement, really, because you're just going to be battling with the crowds. February is busy enough. These 3 months are just unbelievable. So we've created a trip that takes 11 days. That's from leaving the UK or leaving your country of departure and arriving back at your country of departure. And there are options we can discuss at the end to extend that as well. And you can arrive early, but that's typically what we're putting together here. So as an overview, we're going to leave the UK, which is on Sunday the 1st of February. And we're going to arrive in the Arusha and Kilimanjaro airport on the day after. And it's quite a long flight. Depending on the flights that we can obtain, it can be 1 or 2 transfers. And yeah, it's quite tiring in itself. But you'll arrive in the morning, and you'll have time then to check into your hotel, which will meet you at the airport and will transfer you to a hotel. You'll have time then to shower, to chill out, to get your kit ready, etc. until we meet up in the afternoon, where we'll go through all your kit and we'll meet our in-country guides, so our representatives in Africa, in Tanzania. And we've taken a couple of years to find the right company to work with, sort of our working partner in Africa. And we've looked at the various elements we need to have a look at the values of the company and make sure they're ethical and very they look after their staff, their porters, because you'll see these guys sort of working, pretty much 24/7, carrying all our kit up the hill, and it's just so humbling to be in these guys. So we'll meet the chief guides there. They'll introduce themselves. We'll do an introduction to the mountain, any questions, any concerns, any kit problems. We'll have time then to pull some kit in. If people have forgot some or need to hire some staff, then we'll help you there to get that sorted out. So in that evening, we'll have a pre-climb meal, time to mingle and to get to know each other, and to sort of new friendships, because pretty much on the hill we're going to be working as a team. We're going to look after each other, and that's pretty much how we get to get to the summit. We just sort of gel as a team. So it'd be great just to get introductions and to get to know the other members of the team. So the next day is a pretty early start, and then we'll take a sort of couple-hour drive to the Manchami Gate, where we'll meet the porter teams. They'll sort all the gear out, because all we're going to be carrying on the trip on our own back is what we class as a day sack. So just everything that we need for that day. All our kit will be carried by the porters. So our sleeping bags, our change of clothes, our wash gear, our spare gear, etc., our warm weather gear for higher up in the mountain, that will be taken care of by our porters. And you'll be assigned pretty much an individual porter, and he will look after you. And you get to know these guys pretty well, and they're so friendly. If anybody's ever been to Africa before, the African people are so friendly, and you won't want to leave once you're there. And so when we walk, possibly when we set off, we check into the national park. We'll pay the national park fees, which is all part of the fees, or part of the cost, and then we'll start off on our journey up the mountain. So one of the concerns is obviously fitness, which I'm going to touch that in a minute, but I just want to sort of bring that into sort of bearing now. Is when we're on the mountain, we don't walk fast. In fact, we walk quite uncomfortably slow, and it's a pace that we're not even used to when we walk slow back in the UK or back in sort of at sea level. And the reason for that is we want to take our time to get the best acclimatized as possible. And another perfect reason as well is, even when we start at Manchami Gate, we're actually about 2,000 meters up. So we're going to start to feel the effects of altitude pretty much from the word down. So if we walk fast, we're going to get really out of breath. It's like breath. We're going to be like sprinting. So we really walk really slowly, and the Swahili, and that's something that will be said pretty much every day, every minute that we're going to go fast. The porters will say that, the guides will say that, we'll be saying that, and it's really fun to get used to, and that's the only way we can get to the top is to take it really steady, and that's what you do pretty much at altitude in any part of the world. So the first day on the hill, we're going to get to Manchami Camp, and we are camping. The tents are quite spacious, and there's going to be nice, comfortable mattresses to sleep on. So all we take is our sleeping bags, and these mattresses and these tents are carried up by the porters. On the hill, on the mountain itself, we're going to be completely catered. So that means breakfast is cooked for us. We're going to be provided by lunch, and we're also going to be provided with an evening meal. And this is all carried up by the porter team. And we're going to have a mess tent, a separate tent where we meet up at the end of the day. When we get into camp as well, there's normally a hot drink there ready for us, hot water to wash in. There's obviously no shower, so we just get a small bowl of hot water. And all this stuff's carried up. So over the next sort of 2 or 3 days, that's pretty much what will happen. Of that, we've added a separate camp in there, and we're going to extend this just extra 1 day to most operators, just to give that benefit of that extra day. on there. So the terrain that we're going to be covering is mountainous, and what I say about that, there's no climbing with ropes required. It's a trek, and there's going to be a little bit of what we call scrambling. So there's going to be at some times there's going to be moments where you're going to put your hands on some rock. Okay, you're never going to be left alone. There's always going to be there's going to be one of us, one of the African guides, or a porter with you. At any time where there's a little bit of difficulty, you're going to be completely looked after. There is a bit of a climb on the Bronco wall. So after the 5th of February, which happens to be my birthday, we're going to be, there's a bit of a climb. It's a bit daunting, I've got to be honest with you on that, if you've not used to anything like this before. However, that being said, you will never be left alone at any moment in time on there. And that's probably the most trickiest part of the route technically. On the summit night, we're going to leave from Bravo Camp, and the summit push itself will start about 1 in the morning. So there's a reason why we start 1 in the morning, is because that particular day is probably one of the longest days you may have ever had. It's going to be about 16 hours. We're going to climb from our camp up to the summit of Kilimanjaro. And this probably might sound daunting. I thought, oh my God, there's no way I can do that. You're going to gel as a team, and you're going to keep everybody happy. You're going to keep everybody motivated. We're going to make sure you're fine. We're going to get you motivated. You will get to the top, no problems at all. And, that's fantastic. So the longest day will be the best day of your life on that. And you're going to be climbing up through the dark. You're going to have your head torches on. You're going to climb up through the dark, and you're going to witness the dawn breaking over the sort of the savannah, the plains of Africa. And you're going to hit the summit around about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. You can have all the photographs taken and sort of undulation, and it's just absolutely wonderful. I've got some photographs coming up in a moment of that. So then, after the summit, it's a long walk down to our last camp. We'll be fed and watered again by the porters, and again we won't be left alone. Everybody's sort of keeping up with us there, and we'll then carry on all the way down to Marika Camp, and then we'll be transferred then to Arusha. So that's pretty much the itinerary. There is a download, and I will email out to everybody on the webinar tonight just everything we've got and the detailed itinerary, so which is also found on our website as well. So fantastic. Okay. So just moving on, I've got a couple of photos here that you want to have a look. So this is the what you'll be experiencing on the summit day. You've got the sun rising up there beyond Wednesday, and just below that you've got to see the curvature of the earth, and just bottom right of that you've got a team of climbers just walking up there. And I think that was one of my photos about 10 years ago actually, and it's going to get warmer and warmer, and what you're going to see from the summit of Kilimanjaro is the curvature of the earth, and you can't see that from many places. The only real place you can see that is on the real high Himalayan peaks, such as Everest. So you're quite fortunate to see that and to witness that on the top here. And that's your goal. That's the one that you're aiming for. Is the summit of Kilimanjaro. So you just want to sort of visualize yourself being there, sort of having your photographs taken. You've seen the photographs. Sort of if you've done a lot of research on Kilimanjaro, you would have seen that photo before. So just some sort of selection of photographs that will sort of just highlight some of the elements of the trip. Not the elephant with the glasses on. That's a typical sort of tent that you'll be sleeping in. There'll be 2 of you. Tents are massive. They're pretty much 4-man tent, so plenty of room on there. And what you've got here is obviously toilets. If you've ever been on an expedition before, if you haven't, the conversation always ends up on toilet talk. It's just, I don't know what it is. It just has some magical approach to us. I don't know what it is. However, the Old Star toilets is the one on the left there, and I'm not going to go into the gory details, but they weren't pleasant. The new style toilets are porta potties, which are actually brought up with our porta team. And yeah, so that's some of the photographs there. So fitness and training. Biggest questions and the most popular questions we have is how fit do we need to be to climb this mountain? Well, if anybody in the UK can remember sort of 4, maybe even 5 years ago now, the Comic Relief Kilimanjaro trip, we got Chris Miles that climbed up there. And even though he did go to the gym, he probably wasn't the fittest guy that's ever climbed the mountain. I wasn't saying you don't need to be a Chris Miles, however, you don't need to be a marathon runner either. So the rule of thumb that we try and follow is if you can get your training up to about October, November time, you can walk, ideally in the hills on the mountains of the UK, 2 days back to back, 6 to 7 hour days, which is about an average that we'll be doing on Kilimanjaro, then you'll be perfectly fine. I know a lot of people on the call tonight are not easy accessible to the likes of North Wales or the Lake District, and you're probably looking at, if you live in the sort of south of the country, looking at, obviously the South Downs are great, the North Downs are great. You want to be getting out for, sort of good walks, really. You don't need to be a runner. You don't need to be, like I say, doing sort of 70-mile runs. Gym work is really good to get the core strength going. And again, if you can get to the gym sort of 3 to 5 hours a week, plus a good walk at the weekend, then you're pretty much going to be fit enough to climb the mountain. The terrain, yeah, it's going to be rocky and dusty, mainly underfoot. Sort of covered that briefly before. So the best training weekends we have are North Wales, and Snowdon is a great training mountain. It's just because it's so varied in its terrain. It's mainly on paths, but even on the paths on Snowdon, if you've not done that yet, there's a little bit of what we class as scrambling, and we like Snowdon because it does have a very similar terrain in respects to Kilimanjaro. So altitude, yes, altitude is I wouldn't say a problem, but it's a presence on the mountain. And what altitude is obviously lack of oxygen, and our body has to compensate for that. So what our body is doing, it's generating a lot more red blood cells to push the oxygen around our body, and obviously get to our vital organs. And we're going to suffer at some point along the way with altitude sickness. And the symptoms of altitude sickness are nausea and headaches and shortness of breath. And every one of us is going to hit that. He's going to experience that. But with ourselves, with our trained guides, with our training to yourselves as well, we can sort of help each other and support each other along the way. And how do we combat altitude sickness? Well, it's drinking lots and lots of water. That helps with acclimatization. That helps with the generation of the red blood cells. And we're looking at drinking between 3 and 5 litres per day. And this does sound a lot, but it's just a case of getting it in there. And eating more than you would normally eat ever on the hill. And the meals that the porters and the chefs will cook on the hill are huge, more than enough. Plus you'll have your own mix, you'll have your own trail mix, and you'll have your own food as well that you'll be taking with you. So that's pretty much how you can try and sort of cope with altitude. Medication, yeah, headache tablets, ibuprofen, paracetamol, that can take the edge off. But you may just have that dull aching pain there behind the eyes, etc. Feel very very hungover is probably the best way of explaining it. There are levels of altitude sickness, HAPE and HACE. The most common one is HAPE, and we're all going to get that, really, sort of, swelling on the brain and fluid on the lungs. Fluid on the lungs is the one that is the problem. Doesn't tend to happen, touch wood, so much on Kilimanjaro, but that's saying it's not going to. And again, we're sort of trained to work with that and to look after you in that environment. Nutrition. Like I said, there's lots and lots and lots of food being supplied on the mountain, and you can bring your own snacks, your own trail mix, etc. And you know, all good for that. Smoking, drinking. Not here to preach, but obviously if you smoke and you do drink, just sort of getting into your training really. You can't really smoke on the mountain. I think it's pretty much banned now within the national park, but to be honest, you won't feel like it anyway. And drinking obviously sort of alcohol, you're not going to feel like it, to be honest with you guys. But also that doesn't aid with obviously getting hydrated is what we need to do, is obviously dehydrating. But saying that, you're going to deserve your beer, your Kilimanjaro beer at the end of the day, at the end of the trek as well, and there's plenty of time to party when we get back down. So sort of some of the kits that we're looking at. Just got to show you some photos here. Gaiters are funny looking things that go over boots. Might look a bit like a Rambler, but these are a godsend because the terrain on the mountain is so dusty and full of grit. Grit does get into your boots and starts rubbing and creating blisters. So these prevent that. Wear your shorts, wear these over the top of your boots, and that really does save a lot of hassles, to be fair with you. That sort of, not really anybody seen that sort of contraption at the bottom right there. That's a hydration pack. That sort of gets filled with water, placed in your rucksack, and that pipe is one to drink from. Ooh, excuse me, to drink from. And that's a real great way to stay hydrated on the mountain. The reason why I put a photograph up there of a disposable camera, one reason, the first time I did Kilimanjaro, my digital camera got wet and I couldn't take any photos from it. Why I thought about taking disposable cameras before, I really don't know. I must have known that something was going to happen to my camera. So I put three disposable cameras in there, waterproof ones, and thank God I did, because I wouldn't have had any photos from my own if I hadn't done that. So it's always good to have a couple of backups on there. There is a full list of kit on the website, but sort of just some of the highlights here. Good quality sleeping bag, what we class as a 4-season, so one that's really, really warm, because it does get down to -20 towards the summit. Loads of bags, obviously a rucksack. Your rucksack needs to be what we class as a day sack, sort of 35 litre, and sun cream. Obviously, with altitude, the rays of the sun are intensified, so we want to be wearing UV stuff, so UV shirts, really high factor, 40-50 sun cream, a really good quality rimmed hat. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I could spend all day talking about gear, but there's a list on there, and again, it's downloadable from the website as well. So then, what's included? Well, the flights are included from the UK. If you're coming from overseas, then that's down to yourself to sort out. But pretty much we organise the flights from the UK. Sort of, they're not cheap, so around about $785. What we do as well, we'll offer bi-monthly, so every other month we'll have a webinar, but you have access to email us, to put posts on our Facebook page, and just to contact us direct at any time with questions, etc. You get a leader. At the moment it's going to be myself. As the trips get more popular, we're going to employ leaders of ourselves to go over there and to work in conjunction with our in-country guides in Africa. And we like I mentioned before, we work with a local guiding company who are pretty much clued on and pretty much focused on protecting the environment, because it's such a delicate environment. You get full support on Kilimanjaro itself, so you get all the tents, your accommodation, all the food, all your porters, you get a local guide, you get ourselves on there as well. And just in case the worst thing happens, that you do have to descend due to altitude or injury, then a porter is supported with you as well on that as well. So all park entries now have escalated over the next 10 years. I think last count they're around about £480, which is a lot of money, and they were put up to combat and to reduce the amount of tourism in there, but it's just gone the other way. It's just exaggerated on there. So evacuation insurance is part of the park fees, all meals on the fee on the mountain, transfers, and to and from the airport. So it doesn't matter what time, day or night you arrive, you'll get transported to our hotel. And that's a hotel photo there, third one down. There's no swimming pool there to chill out to on the day you get there. Memories of a lifetime. And toilets. You do need toilets because the sheds with holes in the bottom, no good, no good. Okay, so what's not included? Individual insurance. Individual insurance, we're not associated or affiliated with any company, and there are plenty of companies out there offering this insurance. But if I was pushed to name one insurance company, it would be the BMC, which is the British Mountaineering Council. They're not the cheapest, but they are the best, in my view. Why do I say that? Well, 2 years ago, I had to get a helicopter evacuated from Everest Base Camp, and BMC pretty much sorted it all out. And I can't sort of recommend them enough, to be quite honest with you. And yeah, so if I was asked which company to use, I would certainly look at BMC. Additional accommodation for extra nights and accommodation on the travel. What do I mean by that? Well, you may want to extend your stay by 2, 3, 4 nights a week, etc., to take in more of Africa, or add on an extra extension trip to Zanzibar, which is the middle photo there. And obviously that's not included in the trip, is in the trip costs. And tips for porters, even though we work with companies that do look after and do pay their porters slightly better than most companies, it's still relatively low paid, and it's expected in sort of third world countries, certainly African countries, and if you've travelled quite extensively abroad, that tipping is part of the culture. So it is recommended that $150 is put aside just purely for tips. And the way that's formulated is all tips are given to the head African guide, and he then distributes it between his team accordingly and according of rank. That being said, if you've got a personal porter, which you will have, it is sort of expected to tip him separately, $20, $30, $40, $50. You know, that's entirely up to you as well. We are laying on a training camp in, it's looking like it's going to be Snowdonia on the first weekend of October. So that gives everybody enough time to get the fitness routine going, gets a good sort of 4 months, 5 months to get to a point where we can sort of test our kit, test ourselves, test our fitness out with a couple of months to go before the trip itself. And it's also a great time as well to meet all the members of the party, members of your team, you know, which is a great way to bond. So we'll release more details of that when we get the numbers. The numbers allocated for the trip are 12. We do have at the moment 4 confirmed, and we're looking at 6-7 people. 2 are on the webinar tonight from the US, from Washington. So yeah, we're only looking sort of really for 3 or 4 places left. We want to keep it small. We want to keep it sort of pretty much intimate, so we don't lose that sort of, you know, team spirit sort of on there. So then, after the climb, you do have options to go on safari, to go to Zanzibar, obviously to have a Kilimanjaro beer, but obviously the beer, the first beer is on us, by the way, but the other excursions are down to yourselves for extension of trips, etc. But please let us know what you want to do at time of booking. So then, how much does it cost? Well, there's 2 ways to fund the trip. The first one is the most popular way of funding it is via charity. So you raise a minimum of £4,000. We're working with a number of charities which we can share with you in a moment. But in essence, this is pretty much how it works with a charity. You commit to raise a minimum of £4,000. You pay your reservation fee with a 14-day cooling off period. So in essence, that means if you pay a reservation fee and after 14 days you decide not to, then you get that back, no questions asked. And then you commit then to raise or to pay the charity the fees sort of seen on there. So by the 1st of August, you commit to raise 850, and then following that by the 1st of October, 848, by the following by the 1st of January, 848, and then by the 31st of March, 1355. We've put the balance on there the 31st of March, but that can be a little bit flexible as well. That can sort of be pushed out, another month on that. But we like to try and get all the money in for the particular charities as soon as we possibly can. The second most popular way of doing it is paying for it yourself. You pay for it yourself, and then anything you want to raise above that or separate, it goes to your individual charity. So if you wanted to pay 2,645, the payment structure is there, and then you can do your independent raising or sort of fundraising as well. So if you wanted to sort of raise thousands for a local charity or for a local children's group or for whatever local charity that you want to work with, that's another possible way of doing it. That being said, we do have quite a few charity partners on here, and that's pretty much the list that we have. And again, I'm going to email this audio out, and I'm going to put this actual slide up on the internet as well. So you can have a look at that, have a look at some of the charities. On there, I'm doing quite a lot of work for Drake this year, which is a very safety charity, which is sort of a pretty good charity there. But sort of events partner, advocate events, we work with these other charities as well. So again, I'm going to post these out, and then gives you sort of chance to have a look at the charity. If there's any charity on there that sort of feels sort of close to your heart, then fantastic, go for it. So then that's pretty much coming to the end of the webinar this evening. What I'm going to invite you to do now is not to sign up this evening, but what I would like you to do is just, if you are 90% interested of coming on the trip, obviously you would be because you wouldn't be on the call tonight, is just drop me an email. And on that email, I just want your contact details and the best time to contact you on. And the reason why I do that is because Kilimanjaro is not a walk in the park, and I want to pretty much make sure that it's for you, and just have a look at your sort of aspirations and sort of reason why you want to do this, and just want to make sure that February is good for you. That's fantastic. If not, it might be sort of postponing it for a year, just to get the fitness up there, just to get everything into place. Obviously, we'd love you all to be with us in February. But I want to be honest with you, I want to make sure that you can get to the top, and that's why I'm putting this trip on. Obviously, I raise a lot of money for charity. Obviously, that's that's a fantastic cause. But obviously, you want stories to tell your kids, your grandkids. Yeah, and photographs and videos and YouTube and Facebook and everything else whilst you're on the top of Kilimanjaro. And what a way to go. So I just invite you to contact me. There's my email address on there. It's darren@mountainsinmind.com. My mobile number, call me or drop us a text. That's my number there. And all the details are found on that link at the bottom of the screen there. So I'm going to email this out to you. It's going to be tomorrow now. And that's it. So over to you guys now. So use your question box at the bottom and just drop us any questions you have. Anything about the trip, about the fundraising, about ourselves, about yourself, or the fundraising that you may have. Any ideas that you may have in mind. We do a lot of event support for like Three Peaks and small 10K walks. We're supporting a Red Bull event in October, and we support big multi-day ultra races as well. So, if you've got an event in mind that you want to get off the ground, fire away. It's open to you guys now. Fantastic. Okay. So I've got a question here about what the it's from Andrew. Andrew in the States, not you, Mr. Chan. Yeah, it's another question about altitude, and it's a sort of valid question as well. There are. So the question is: are there any medication where you can combat the effects of altitude? And sort of the answer to that is yes. There's a drug called Diamox, which is quite popular on that, and it does have an effect. And what it does, it speeds up the process. It creates lots and lots and lots more sort of red blood cells, sort of on that. And some people take this before they go on a trip, and some people take that whilst they're on the trip. And there's a couple of reasons why we would sort of suggest that these aren't taken before the trip. And the main reason is it's very limited in respect to what medication is available to help acclimatization. And it's just a train of thought. There's same because it's a medical-based question and a medical-based answer. There's obviously been lots of medical-based research on this, and obviously, health and fitness, and that's probably one of the most popular things in the world that people like to comment on. All I'm going to do is just give you my interpretation of that, and take what you may. Yeah, Diamox. So if you take it before and you come down with altitude sickness on the mountain, there's limited drugs you can take, and we don't take those drugs with us. And the reason why that is because they're injected drugs. And if you were to have a doctor on board and on the team, then yes, they could be administered that way. However, if we were to have a doctor within the team, then obviously that would really drastically pump up the cost. That being said, there's never really been a need to administer those drugs. Diamox, yes. So what I would say is leave the Diamox until you're on the hill. And can you get Diamox? You can. It is in the UK. It's a prescribed drug. So if you were to visit your doctor, your GP, and just sort of explain what you're doing, and then they can prescribe that with you. So I hope that answers the question there, Andrew. Perfect, fantastic. Yeah, question from John. Hi, John. Do you mind me sort of just asking your question out? Cool. Okay. Perfect. Cheers, John. Okay, John's just asked a question. He's got mild asthma. I'm not quite sure when that gets brought on, John, etc. Whether it's sort of allergy or whether exertion brings that on, etc. But is that likely to be an issue? And again, it's down to really when that is it comes on when you get asthma. But asthma obviously is managed, and obviously you'll have your inhaler. And probably the short answer to that, John, is no, it's not going to be a problem. There's many people that have summited Kilimanjaro and other peaks with asthma. And to be quite honest, when you're in the clear air, there's no pollution around. So that might have a bearing on it as well. So there's probably less likely to use the inhaler. There's no pollen up there. Because it's just all dusty. Yeah, we get covered with dust. We get dust on the back of our throat. We all cough on that. So the short answer to that, John, is you should be fine. But again, I don't know the symptoms sort of behind that or sort of what brings that on. So yeah, fantastic. So yeah, I've just seen it mostly allergy related, and again, allergy to pollen or to certain foods, etc. So I'm sort of swaying on the positive side on that one, John. Hopefully that's okay. Perfect. Thanks a lot, guys. Okay, we've got what time are we on now? So we've got sort of 2 to 3 minutes left, and brilliant, John. What's the best training to do for this? Great question, John. The best training. Sorry, Andrew. Sorry, John was below. Sorry, Mr. Chan. Yeah, best training obviously is in the mountains, and that, as we know, is not always logistically possible. to get sort of hill training in. So what I would suggest and sort of recommend is some cardiovascular work. So down on the treadmill, down on the row machine, down on the bike, in the gym. You've only be looking at an hour and a half sessions, building up to that, within the next sort of 2 to 3 months. And you want to be hitting the gym sort of minimum of 3 to 4 times. And a mountain bike is great. If you've got access to a mountain bike, doesn't matter where you can do that. You can do that anywhere. You can sort of adjust the gear so it makes the tension a bit, a bit more sort of harder. Doesn't matter where we are in the UK. There's a hill somewhere. Even in Norfolk, it's quite flat, but there's still little hills around there. And if you can get out for a day walk at a weekend or in the week, whenever you sort of can, you're looking around about 6 hours moving up to that. And you want to be hitting 6-hour walks around about September time, and then multi-day, 2-day walks in October. So yeah, the gym is a great place to start, Andrew. I say build up to an hour and a half, 3 to 4 times a week. And you want to be looking at that, like I say, from probably about, September. So hopefully that's okay for you, Andrew. Cheers. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, John. Yeah, how many people will be on the trip? Yep, no problem, mate. Yeah, I've recorded the webinar anyway, so you can catch the first 10 minutes. Yeah, we're aiming for 12 people. We've got 3 confirmed now. We've got probably 6-7 people who are 75-80% certain for coming from Washington DC. So we want to keep the group to quite small, really, because we can have 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. You can have 30, 40 people on there. You're not going to get that bonding. It's a great sort of team size, really. Is 12, and you get to know each other. You get to know how people work, and you great support, really. So yeah, yes, John, 12 people. If it was to go over to 14, then that's fine. But yeah, no, pretty much no more than 14. But 12 is the target number. Cool. Okay, so we've got sort of 2-3 minutes left. So 2 more questions, and then we'll call it a day. Perfect. So I think we've done that. Oh, I think just one more question. Training grade. Perfect. I think we're there. Brilliant. Okay, John. Yep, no problem at all. Okay, right. Pretty much 9 o'clock now, so I just want to thank you for hanging in there, and I hope you learned something new. And I really would sort of love to hear from you if if you sort of really are interested in coming, and just drop me that email, which I'll just place back up again here. So yep, have a great evening, what's left of it, and have a wonderful week. And I think the weather's changing, unfortunately. It's getting a bit cooler for the next couple of days. That being said, weekend's due a good one. So have a pleasant evening, and hope to speak to you very shortly. Thanks a lot. Cheers, guys.